Welcome to this video. It's going to be on the idea of karma. I mean, I'm sure you knew that because you clicked on the video and it talks about karma in the title. I did that specifically so that people that clicked on it knew they were getting themselves into. You knew what you were getting into, and here you are. What I wanted to do was to just share with you guys the ideas that I have about what karma is. But first, I want to give you guys a disclaimer. And now the reason I want a disclaimer here is because ultimately, nobody knows the answer to this. Now what I mean is there's philosophy, there's ideas that people have, but once again, there's no concrete necessarily evidence except for people's experience that can prove what this idea is. So with that being said, my intention here is not to get you to believe what I'm believing in or try to persuade you any ideas. It's merely just me sharing my idea. I don't know why I feel like I had to say that, but I wanted to. So let's get into the idea of karma. And before I really go deep with this idea, what I wanted to do was to lay a little foundation. I wanted to explain a couple things that will kind of lay the groundwork so that when I do get deeper into the idea of karma, we kind of have something to base ourselves on. So first off, what is karma? Karma is understanding that what we put out is that what we get back. So ultimately, it's like this 1,000 years, it's been around for thousands of years, the idea that do to someone else what you want done to yourself. I mean, it's something that we learned in school. It's something that we've always kind of known a little bit about. But is that something that's really inherently true? And can we even have the experience of that? Well, if you imagine, you may have had that happen in your life before, where maybe you did something to someone else and that same exact thing happened to you. Maybe when you're in preschool or something, or maybe in like daycare, you stole someone's toy or something, and then you found like a week later someone stole your toy, or it could have been many different things. But at one point, I think a lot of us have had some type of experience where we did something to someone else and we found ourselves then experiencing the same thing that we did to somebody else. Now, understand this idea when it comes to me explaining this idea. I'm going to lay out the groundwork of the idea that I've explained in a couple videos, and that is the idea that we are all connected. Now, I know I talk about this a lot, but I believe it's a fundamental truth that many of us can agree upon, or at least understand. And I think that it's important to understand this because when we do, it makes karma something easier to understand as well. Because literally what we do to somebody else, we are doing to ourselves. Because at a deeper level, since we're all connected, everybody that you come into contact with is just at a deeper level another version of who you are. Everything is a reflection of the internal. So anybody that you come into contact with is reflecting back to you maybe some part of yourself. Now I know this is getting a little bit deep, and a lot of the things that I talk about on this channel are pretty deep, but I think that it's important to at least talk about ideas in this kind of deep philosophy way because it helps us understand how ultimately everything is rooted in certain similar ideas. And one of those ideas is the fact that since we're all connected, what we do to somebody else, we are literally doing to ourselves because at a deeper level, that person is a version of us. Now, when I say that person, what am I speaking to? I don't necessarily just mean the ego. Now, the ego is what we call physical, like, personality. It's what we give ourselves credence towards, like labels, towards being able to like talk to other people. We have names, you know, it's important in society for us to interact with other people using it, but the idea is that underneath that ego is an essence, is a source energy. That energy is what is in every single person that we come into contact with, and that because of that, that is why what we do to somebody else, we end up doing to ourselves anyways. Now, if we want to change our karma, for example, one thing that we might do is we simply become aware that there's certain patterns that exist. So if every time we get into a relationship with someone, for example, we find that we keep recycling certain ideas over and over again, maybe with different people, but the idea is that certain similar situations keep coming up. This could simply be the idea that there's unconsciously something there that's allowing that to be extracted from the other person. And what we do is, as we begin to understand this more and more, we notice that we can then shift ourselves out of karma. Now, I think that if we believe that we are victims of karma, we will then use that as an excuse for everything. That once we become aware that a certain pattern is there, we then give ourselves the power to actually change it so that we can experience something new. So we are only really bounded in the idea of karma when we are unaware of certain patterns that exist. So once we become aware of the pattern, we then can create something new from that level of awareness. Now, the reason I say this too is because imagine if you have the awareness that someone else that you experience in life, that you doing something to somebody else is actually you doing it to yourself. How would you behave differently? Would you maybe cut somebody off in traffic? Or Would you steal from somebody else or lie to somebody else if you knew that you were lying or stealing from yourself? You probably wouldn't. So when you come to this level of awareness, what you begin to do is transcend the idea of karma, because then there's less balance that's needed. Now, I want to talk about another facet of karma that maybe isn't talked about too often, but I think that karma is used as a balancing, guiding mechanism. I think that karma is used to balance us more and to guide us into who our true natural state of being is. So if you find ourselves maybe acting in a certain way that's not in alignment with who we are, we could say that karma is pushing us back into the balance of who we are, is allowing us to have certain synchronous experiences that might be considered negative or positive, because there could be positive karma as well from an experiential point of view. But the idea is that as we become more aware of that and as we observe it there, what we then begin to do is allow ourselves to then shift it to a different state to where we become aware of it. Then we can choose what we want to experience in life. So ultimately, the idea of karma, for me at least, is understanding that the karma is a guiding mechanism that helps us understand more about who we are, the alignment that we want to have with ourselves, and then also with the people that we come into contact with. That ultimately we are all connected, and because we're all connected, what we do to somebody else we are doing to ourselves. So anytime we do something, we might experience the rebound effect of that because we've just literally done something to ourselves. And I think that there's a lot of power in understanding this, and I think that it's important not to be a victim of karma. I think that we should view it as a positive thing towards understanding the balance in our lives, towards really redirecting ourselves in the direction that we want to go. And I think that the more that we begin to do that, ultimately the better we're going to feel, and the more that we're going to know that there could be positive synchronicity in our life, positive karma, and we're going to allow ourselves to ultimately become more aware. Before I end this video though, could you guys do me a favor and maybe tell me some of the topics that you guys want me to talk about, or some ideas, maybe questions that you guys have, or what you guys would like to see more on this channel. I want to make it a little bit more interactive between me and you guys, because ultimately I love you guys. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. So much love, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and until next week, I'll come back with another video on some other idea. Alright, you guys have a great day. Much love. Bye bye.